So I saw a video this morning about Donald Trump banning all new international students from enrolling at Harvard. This just really reminded me of the time when I entered the US while I was a student studying in London.
US government don't want Chinese international students.
Excited to have you once more, amazing viewer. Thank you so much for your continued support. Time flies. Just the other day we had Americans joining Red Knot. So excited to connect finally with Chinese and getting to know the real China. And they started realizing that Chinese were having it better than they have it in their country. And also, Chinese were also excited to connect with Americans. A lot has happened in such a short span, and this is where we are at right now.
Guys, did we just time travel to the 90s? Because what's happening in America right now is unreal. Trump revokes visas for international students. The US government just told all international students who study at Harvard to leave the country immediately. Why? Because Harvard refused to let the government dictate how they run their lectures. They pushed back against political interference. And the response, kick out every international students. No warning, no humanity. Imagine you worked your entire life to get into your dream school, and yes, you made it. You moved across the world, new language, new culture, new home, just to be told, get out. All because of politics. You know, the trade wars, student bans, what's next? Won't be surprised by anything anymore. From insane tariffs to this. This isn't democracy. It's starting to look like dictatorship.
Is it because the country has beef with Trump and those ridiculous tariffs that a federal judge blocked, or what? Isn't that, wouldn't this be classified as this discrimination move?
It never ends, you guys. On May 28, 2025, Marco Rubio announced that the United States will begin revoking visas for Chinese students, particularly those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields, which is extremely broad, you guys. The administration has also just halted new visa interviews and plans to intensify vetting of applicants' social media activity. Now, approximately 277,000 Chinese students are currently studying in the United States, making them the second largest group of international students. This policy shift has raised alarms among universities and advocacy groups, warning of diminished international academic exchange and economic impacts as foreign students often pay full tuition.
Their university tuition fee per year is from $25,000 to $90,000. Let's say it's average $40,000. That's $11.6 billion a year. If you add up living expenses, rent, it could range from $20,000 to $40,000, depends on, well, your lifestyle.
Catastrophic and unprecedented $12.5 billion loss for tourism. You heard me correctly. $12.5 billion loss just in 2025. This is going to be catastrophic for the United States of American tourism.
Habibi, come to China or Canada. They're both beautiful.
So that's another $5 to $10 billion. The US government want to give that up to fulfill their hardline immigration agenda. You're already losing money on tourism because you made your country so unappealing that nobody wants to go anymore. Does US government cares about economy at all?
There are 275,000 Chinese students in the United States, roughly a quarter of the 1.12 million international student total. This move will be nothing less than calamitous for American higher ed if this move goes through. Universities on the East Coast, New York University, Columbia University, Harvard, Northeastern, University of Pennsylvania, as well as universities on the West Coast, USC, the UC System, UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, as well as universities in other parts of the United States, the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, the University of Wisconsin, the University of Texas, A&M. These universities have significant international student populations, and amongst them, a lot of those are from China. These are going to hurt universities not only in the blue states, but the red states as well. The red states have large universities that have large international student populations. So what's the point of this? You tell me.
It's so dumb. It's stupid. Because right now, the only one winning with all this is China. Not just here in Massachusetts, but around America, because people are afraid to come here. If you've got a choice, I'm going to go up to McGill in Canada, or I'm going to go study in Europe, or research there, or start a company there. They're reading the room. There's a lot of uncertainty, just like the tariffs are creating so much uncertainty with the business community.
I'm sure you guys have seen that video of the guy from Hong Kong saying that Hong Kong is willing to take any international students from the US that feel unwelcomed, persecuted, unsafe, which is honestly all of them thanks to this president. We have over 1 million international students studying in the US right now. Literally smartest fucking kids in the room. You want to get an A on your group project? Go find the Chinese guy. You want to get a good study partner so that you can get an A in math? Go find the Indian guy in your class. And the president's big plan is to ban them from Harvard and send their scholarships off to some welding school in Nebraska. And while I love the idea of sending money to trade schools, I think it's important. You cannot do it at the cost of our innovation, okay? Maybe if he wasn't building a giant fucking gold dome, he could invest in all of the trade schools in America. Something like 50 to 60% of the graduate students in STEM degrees right now in the US are international. You guys like your phone? Thank them. You guys like going and getting an MRI? Thank them. You guys like that TikTok filter that gives you abs? That was probably an international student on an F1 visa. Now Hong Kong is like, hey, if the US is being weird, come on over. And if I was a student, I'd be on the first fucking flight. Guys, they have free housing. It's an international hub, and they got bomb-ass dumplings. China isn't stealing our future. We are handing it over to them on a silver platter, all because Barron couldn't get into fucking Harvard. At this point, they just need to make t-shirts for the people on the right that say, make China great again, because that's all this president is doing, and you guys are enabling him.
At surface, you're like, oh, what's the big deal? It's actually huge. Let me explain why. I know why US want to cancel it, because it's some government official be like, oh, the Chinese students are coming here studying and taking advantage of our school system, and then go back to China and copy our ideas and blah, blah, blah. That's just the blunt kind of lack of understanding of how technology and how society really works. Why it's important to not think that way is because literally, if you look at the top professors, scientists that are living in US, you look at the credential, how they became who they are, almost all of them are from China. It's crazy. Like that one guy, look him up. He is literally the only guy, well, he's the one who invented it. He figured out how evolution works, and he's changing our DNA. Yeah, it's nuts. Like he's studying at, I forget, one of the fancy schools in the US. There's another guy, they actually just they fired him recently. He single-handedly is basically protecting all of us from data privacy and security threats. Again, another Chinese American professor. I'm just giving you an example because not just Chinese people, but everyone comes to US to learn, to have this opportunity to advance in technology for all of us, society. And they live here in US because they want to raise their kids here. And they feel safe. They feel like US has taken care of them. So they raise their family. Their kids are going to school here and their grandkids are going to school here. But when you block that access, you disconnect the world. It's a huge disruption, not to just US and China, but the whole world. So, anyways, it's a terrible news, and I hope they revert it back.
US will not tolerate Chinese exploitation of universities, theft of research. As someone who exploit university and steal research, I want to come clean, okay? So for all the exploitation I did in the university, I repay by teach in the university. Okay, one Chinese, took maybe 20 classes in the university I went to, but I taught like 200 classes to mostly Americans. They all appreciate that. So I guess I repaid that part. Okay, for all the research I stole, it's all published. All the results are published. It's owned by everybody on the planet. I'm clean.
The Trump administration, the folks there, they ain't been to college in a while. And you know their grandkids and you know their children are not being honest with them about the college experience. Because right now they're trying to limit specific Chinese students from coming here, where, keep in mind, the majority of the kids coming here, especially for bachelors, they're loaded. These are the kids that rent the high rises, that buy tons of Chinese food that we know because we have Chinese restaurants, and they come every freaking day. They're loaded to the brim with money. If you work in the auto industry, you know this. If you work in the high-end fashion luxury game, you know this. Chinese people from China are out here buying Lamborghinis, they're buying BMWs, they're buying Mercedes, G-Wagons for their kids, most of all in cash. This is what's happening. We know this. They're the ones coming in here freaking buying purses that are worth thousands of dollars. Those are the people contributing to the U.S. economy, and we want to kick them out? Wow. They basically buy up and live in all of these luxury high-rises all over the country. It's quite a big business. Apparently, there's 270,000 international Chinese students specifically. So now they're going to limit people arbitrarily, whatever have you. But really, who are they hurting? They're not really protecting the industries they think they're protecting, because the majority of people coming here, they're coming here for not that. Right? Drone technology, China is better than the US. Robotics, autonomous driving, China's already ahead of the game. So what are they really coming here to steal? Infrastructure, it's already better. So this is just backwards ass move. It is ass backwards, whatever that phrase is. It's insane, because all they're doing is hurting other Americans. We are the ones that profit off of these international students. This is why I never liked investing in student housing. It's because I always thought there's going to be one day where people realize the entire U.S. education system is basically full of shit. People really aren't learning any groundbreaking information. And that's why I never invested in real estate near schools. Because I'm I never know when this school business is all of a sudden going to shut down, because they're just, it's kind of a scam. Those, if you know, you know. So anyways, I just think the whole thing is hilarious, because it's just yet another great example of us shooting ourselves in our own foot.
So I saw a video this morning about Donald Trump banning all new international students from enrolling at Harvard. This just really reminded me of the time when I entered the US while I was a student studying in London. And I got pulled into secondary inspection, and it was freaking traumatizing. So story time. So this was in 2017 during Trump's first time in office, and I was studying in London at the time. I'm Korean, so I have a Korean passport, but I had actually the green card equivalent for the UK. My boyfriend, who was also living in London, had gone to New York on a 2-week work trip. And so his hotel and his food was all comped for by his company. So I was I'm probably never going to be able to do a New York trip this cheap, not having to pay for accommodation. So I found some very cheap flight tickets. So I just decided to book a long 3-day weekend in New York to join him. So I land at Newark, and I'm going through customs, and the guy is checking my passport. And then he asks me, why have you been to the US 4 times in the last 6 months? And I was what? I haven't. This is my second time into America ever. And he was no, it says you've been here 4 times in the past 6 months. And I was maybe you're mistaking me with someone else, because I don't know what to tell you. This is my second time. And he was stop talking. He passes me off to another guy, and then I get pulled into secondary inspection, where they tell me I cannot use my phone, cannot be on my phone. And I probably sat there for about 45 minutes, literally not being able to do anything. So I'm just sitting there kind of getting anxious and annoyed at the whole situation. And then finally an officer comes, and then they pull me into a smaller inspection room, and 2 officers are there. They put my passport down on the table. They're what are you doing here? How long are you staying? So I told them all that, and I thought, as long as I explained myself clearly, I thought this was going to be just quickly finished and done with. But no, I was sadly mistaken. They started asking me all sorts of the most invasive questions ever. They were like, how long have you been with your boyfriend? Are you guys married? Did he pay for your ticket? How are you affording this ticket? How much does your family earn? How much does your dad earn? My family's in Korea, but I'm studying in London. And he was like, how are you affording that? I even had a return flight ticket. But like the whole time, the two guys were just looking at me and talking to me as if I was a criminal. Like, oh, we know you're lying. They were examining my passport against the light to see if it was fake. I was like, either you're mistaking me with someone else. I can't give you any other answer than this is my second time into America. And then the main guy, who was like tall and mean, he put my passport down on the table. He was like, young lady, when are you going to start telling us the truth? And he basically started yelling at me. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what answer you want me to say. This is not my fourth time in 6 months. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he was like, whoa, why are you getting so antsy? And I was like, because you're accusing me of something that is completely fake. They just kept yelling at me for like the next 10 minutes, saying there's no way I could have been able to afford coming to New York by myself, which, please. And so after more minutes of that, they told me to go back and sit in the main area while they talk about me some more. And then I think they came to the conclusion they couldn't find an actual concrete reason to detain me or to bar me from entry. So the mean guy came back and then he just chucked my passport at me. He was like, you're free to go. And I was like, I just took my passport and I just went out and I just immediately called. That was so freaking horrible. This has deterred me from ever wanting to come into America ever again. But I did hear murmurings even back in 2017 that going through customs was getting a lot more tougher now that Donald Trump was in office. And I see it happening now again. And then I see the Harvard thing this morning. Yeah, weird times.
For context, I'm ABC. Live in the States for almost 2 decades. And I've seen it with my own eyes, how Chinese international students get treated in the US. You speak English with an accent, people will either ignore you or laugh behind your back. And then they are all confused, like, why don't you integrate? Well, maybe because y'all don't make any space for them. Unless you're constantly kissing ass or you're a girl they find exotic or interesting, otherwise you're invisible. And let's be real, some ABCs, we don't help. I've seen it. We distance ourselves. The moment someone say they're from China, some ABCs go, oh no, I'm not like them. Like, we're scared of being looped in the same circle. But here's the wild thing. When Americans go to China, they expect you to speak English to them. They walk around like they're celebrities, and some locals actually worship that. Like, getting into the white people circle is an achievement or something. But that's not respect. That's self-erasure.
Let me get this straight. People say China only copies, but every time a Chinese company gets too good, the fucking US tries to ban it. If they were really so weak, why bother banning them? Think about it, right? Huawei starts beating Apple in global phone sale, blocked. DJI becomes the only drone company anyone actually trusts and uses, banned. TikTok eats Zuckerberg's lunch, literally destroying every single social media, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to get rid of TikTok. Congress is treating dance videos and freedom of speech. What about Shein and Temu? They got rid of, what's that thing called? De minimis exemption? I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that word. Western e-commerce shaking in their boots because, let's be real, nobody's moving product or crushing prices like China. And let's talk about green energy. Who's making the world's best batteries right now? EV, solar panels. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's not Detroit. High-speed rail. Have you Americans ever heard of that? China built a new city worth of tracks every year while New York can't even fix the fucking subway. And don't even mention how China's going to debt to put up all these train tracks. That's what the government is supposed to do with your tax money. And yet, every time China actually dominates, suddenly it's not fair, national security. Please, government, make it go away. They're hurting our bottom line. Meh, meh, meh. If you're so unbothered, why are these companies sweating buckets? And ask yourself, why did they put 100% tariff on Chinese cars? Let's be fucking honest. Nobody cares who invented the first phone or train or battery. They care about who's making it faster, cheaper, and better. Execution over invention. Winners win the market. That is just how the game works. That is what you call free market. So keep calling China a fucking copycat. Just don't forget, when the copy beats you at your own game, it's not cheating. It's just evolution. And apparently, evolution scares the hell out of Westerners. Or should I say, Western companies.
That was it about this compilation. I hope you've enjoyed it. It has been an informational compilation. I hope you are learning as well. Unfortunately, I'm not a politician. I love education. I value education. But now when politics start getting into the field that I love, I have no say. But I hope that the lines will be drawn so that you don't ruin the future of our children. One thing I know about China, they value education. Education has moved them to where they are right now. They have been able to educate their people. They're offering scholarships. That's why they are able to get to where they are, because they value education. And that's why people are ready. Chinese are ready. Asians, let me say generally, are ready to come out and spend a lot of money to get the best education in the world. And yeah, it's time for them to now explore other avenues, because this American door is closed. And every time that the US tries to close a door on China, it's rather opens them up to the wider world. Yeah, so that's what we are reading. That's what I'm reading from this compilation. That's what I'm reading from the situation, starting from the tariffs and the things that we've been experiencing lately with the Trump administration. It's insane. And yeah, maybe it's the time for China to shine now. What do you think about this?